Today, we're going to watch this video from Azul. So this video is called 5 Things You Should Never Tell Anyone. And it's blowing up on YouTube. It's got 1.2 million views in just 3 weeks. So I want to see why it's working so well. So let's click this video and let's watch it together.
These are 5 things that I think you should never share with anyone. And I learned a couple of these the hard way, and I don't want you to go through that pain. So let's jump in and I'll share my list. The first one is, you know, talking to people about your salary or your savings.
Joe, I was just not talking to people about specifically that. How funny. Like there are, in my opinion, there are things that you should talk about, and there's things you shouldn't talk about. And in this industry, I totally get that I have a target on my back because if I decide to show lifestyle type videos, if I decide to talk money type things, that's not what people want to hear when they're down and out. They're on food stamps. They can't afford groceries. They just got evicted from their house, whatever the case is. And then they see Chris talking about, oh, look at my fancy thing, look at my this or that. That puts a target on my back. I don't like that idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, at the same time, you work really hard to get to that point, and 2,600 videos later, you have the audience, right? So it's tough. It's tough not to get that target.
Dude, they're gonna be coming for you next, Joe. You just wait. You just wait.
Is, in my opinion, on a need to know basis. And the reason why is when 2 people get together and they talk about how much they're making or how much they've saved, there's usually one person that's going away disappointed or angry, hurt, or jealous, and there's really very little to be gained. And now, hired as a financial advisor, I needed to know how much my clients had saved and how much that they were making so that I could help them. And a mortgage broker needs to know that, and an estate planning attorney needs to know that. And that's why I say it's on a need to know basis. The next one that can bite you. And unfortunately, you're giving the other person a lot of power if you choose to share this with them. And that is if you're thinking of quitting your job or retiring from your job. And why take that risk? Why give a colleague at work that power over you that, you're upset and you're thinking of quitting your job? You don't want anybody to know that until you decide it's the time to share it. Now, it might be a good time to share with your organization once you've got your ducks in a row. And maybe you'd like to stay if it weren't for a couple things. There's a couple things that bother you. And you've decided it's the right time to share. Now, at that point, that can be a powerful thing that can help you get the changes that you need so you can be successful at the company for yourself and for the company. But to just tell somebody randomly that you're thinking about quitting or you're thinking about retiring in 2 years, that gives that person a lot of power. I want you to share when it's right for you to share. Let me give you an example. For instance, retiring. If an organization knows you're planning on retiring, maybe they say, hey, we heard you're thinking about retiring. For our planning purposes, how does your end sound to you? And you might say, yeah, that sounds good. Well, when does your company give out bonuses? A lot of times the bonuses for the previous year are given out in January or February of the following year. And you don't want to be forced out.
Yup. All right, Joe. As I mentioned before we started the recording here, I quit my job that I've been at for 12 years on March 7th. And you better believe it was within a couple weeks of having got the year-end bonus. Like I was not gonna let that go. Not at all gonna let that go. And
But
you know what?
that's perfectly fine because you did the work to receive, warrant the receipt of that bonus. So sticking that out is not, unethical or, it's not a
No,
dirty thing to do. You did the work.
not at all. And in fact, they told me after I left, they said whatever you accrued from January 1st up to March 7th, you're actually entitled to on next year's bonus. And I was like, well, oh, all right. That's a sweet little benefit there. Mr. B says he retired on January 5th, so he could get his bonus. I agree.
There you go.
And Peter nailed it. Peter from the Netherlands nailed it. Chris has a wife that supports him, and that is the best gift in trading. That's the biggest bonus in life. Joe, there is no bigger investment in your life than finding the right spouse, right? Now, that doesn't mean that every day is the best day ever. Doesn't mean that she's going to look like Elsa, right? But the plan is to have somebody who's always there to have your back, even on times where you think this is scary. We're going to hold hands and we're going to do this together. And that's definitely Man, I'm blessed beyond belief. I met my wife when I was 18. We started dating the October that I started college, October 10th. No, October 20th. That's how like she put a ring on it, right? She was 3 years older than me, and still is 3 years older than me. And bro, she was absolutely my hookup at the liquor store too. I'm just saying.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And as an added bonus, you get Christmas almost every day when Amazon shows up with new boxes.
This actually happened right now. A UPS truck just pulled out outside my house. That is happening at this very freaking moment, Joe. That
That's awesome.
yeah, that is real. That is real.
You want to choose the timing of when you're going to go or have as much control over that as possible, whether retiring or quitting. Okay, let's keep going. The next one is something that I learned as a financial advisor and working with attorneys. I'm not an attorney, but I have seen people give powers of attorney to other folks, typically family members, and trusting that that person's going to keep their best interest in mind. And there may be a time that you need a power of attorney, which allows.
Oof. I can't speak to this at all. Joe, is this something you could help with in any way?
No, I have not looked into power of attorney. I think the closest I could say is trusts, right? To keep your loved ones out of probate, get yourself a trust and put your assets in it. But other than that, no, power of attorney I have not looked into.
Bro, I got them trusts. We set up those trusts not all that it was September. We finally got the document signed in October. Next week we have to open up all the bank accounts associated with that, right? And I look at my wife and look at my kids and I'm like, it is so crazy that we are at the point where I have trust funds for my children. What has happened in my life? You know what I mean? So yeah, you can do it. You can do it too for only 82 cents a day. How's that pitch? Did you hear the doorbell? That's the UPS guy. That literally is happening as we speak, Joe.
That's awesome. Yeah. But I mean, trusts aren't for just, high income folks either, right? If you have a house, if you have, vehicles, you can save your loved ones a lot of hassle by putting these in a trust and making the decision while you're still alive and healthy and able to make those decisions. It'll cost you a little money at a lawyer's office, but I mean, it's your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt really grateful that I was able to pay for these trusts, right? It was multi five figures to pay for all these trusts and get all that set up. But now it's done forever and I never have to think about it again.
Hmm.
Somebody else to execute legal documents on your behalf and make legal and financial decisions on your behalf. And there may be a time where, you have a stroke and you lose the capacity to do that yourself, and somebody has to have that. But short of that, to give somebody that control, unless it's absolutely necessary. So if you're in a situation where you think you might need to give a power of attorney, boy, have an attorney work with you to make sure, have your attorney work with you, not somebody else. Even, if a child says, hey mom, hey dad, I need a power of attorney for this reason, and you can talk to my attorney. No, no, no. You want to talk to your attorney, somebody that has a fiduciary duty to you. So just wanted on your radar screen again. I'm not an attorney. None of this is legal advice, certainly, and it's also not financial advice. Okay, number four.
Charlotte, you're not wrong at all. This is exactly precisely correct. You should see my doorstep every day. It gets bigger and bigger by the day, right? Yeah, that is real. I appreciate that very much, Charlotte. Stephen had a very funny yet very true comment. The best thing about sitting in cash is we get happy Chris instead of grumpy Chris. I can pull a grumpy Chris real quick on you, Stephen. Where's that permaban button? I'm done with this guy. I'm just joking. Linda and Paul, the most important thing in life is to create and maintain wealth, is to marry the right spouse. The most important thing, I would say they go hand in hand for sure. You get the right spouse that'll help you create and maintain that wealth. They've been married for 58 years and retired for 23 of them. Golf claps all around. Do me a favor in the chat, put some golf claps in for Linda and Paul. Congratulations to you two. That is awesome. But you're not wrong. Not wrong at all. My wife and I, our anniversaries this weekend, 17 years married. It's crazy to think. I've been with my wife longer than I lived at home with my parents. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. And taking her out on the town. Can't wait. Spending far too much money on a hotel dinner and all that kind of stuff, which I just did for her birthday. So I'm like treating her good. You gotta do that.
Awesome. Good job, Chris.
Or is what you think of your boss or people that you dislike or maybe even hate, right? You have a deep dislike for those people.
I hate your guts, Joe, but I'm not supposed to tell you about that. But it's true. I hate your stinking guts.
Wait, I'm your boss? You're fired, sir.
Oh shit. I mean, well, he didn't say specifically your boss, just people you dislike or hate. So therefore I hate you. Um I wouldn't call Mahesh so much my boss as a business partner. However, I hate his guts too. I hate everybody. That's just except for my wife and my kids and my family and the outliers because they're the best. But everybody else, screw you guys. I'm going home. Screw you guys. I'm going home. I'm just joking. I love you guys.
People. There's a really small circle of folks that need to know that. And regarding your relationship with your boss, if you're married again, confiding in your spouse, that's perfectly fine. But to let anybody at work know that, or even to let like maybe your kids know that, who knows? Maybe your boss comes over for dinner and, a 10-year-old doesn't have the discretion and a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old or even a 22-year-old may not have the discretion that you need with something powerful like that, or somebody that you dislike, a coworker, or even a neighbor. You don't want that getting out. If you decide to release that, you want to release it in the way that's right for you. I've seen both of those bite people and cause really stressful situations, and even in some situations cause somebody to have to change jobs, because once something that like that leaks out to your boss, and your boss obviously has a lot of control. You want your boss to think that you're doing a good job. You want your boss to like you, and you want your boss rooting for you. And bosses are human too, and they have their strengths and their weaknesses, and sometimes those weaknesses are pretty tough. And but the last thing you want is that information getting out in a loosey goosey way that only has downside and has no upside. Speaking of,
Did he say Lucy? Did he say Lucy?
We clicked the exact same thing at the same time.
I saw Lucy a couple days ago. She's so tiny and cute and fluffy. For those of
I
you who
think
don't know, Lucy will be an enigma. Lucy is kind of like she's roughly the same size as Gerald. She's roughly the same size as Gerald the Labubu. However, she's a dog, and she is the cutest thing on planet Earth. And not my dog, but I did my family and I did Lucy sit for a week.
yeah, you're gonna have to bring her back. We keep getting requests for that.
Yeah, except I really love the no pets lifestyle. It is glorious. I I don't want to deal with dogs. I don't want to deal with cats. I have two children and a very bougie wife, and that's enough for me.
I'd bring up Kitty, but she's not here right now, so
She's not, but we do need to put Kitty in as many thumbnails and hooks as possible to get people to watch. I'm just saying.
there you go.
Daniel married the Wicked Witch of the West, and it took him 10 years to recover. Life is good. Everybody, pay condolences to Daniel in the chat. Just type in Daniel in the chat because we love you, dude. We're sorry that you married the Wicked Witch of the West.
of that, this is number 5, but there's a bonus coming after this one I want to share with you. But speaking of that, and this one's kind of mixed, but if you have a serious mental health condition, be really careful who you share.
Jeez, why has he got to take it so deep and dark and sad around here, Joe? I'm trying to keep it light and airy. Nobody wants to listen to this like getting depression states over here.
Yeah, what's the bonus though? This is still number 5.
That's true. We're gonna try and blaze through this one. I don't want to talk about mental health. This is not the channel for mental health issues. There's lots of channels for that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about mental health issues, just go listen to the Joker or the Vampire. They'll give you mental health issues right there.
That with. Now, I have had some mental health challenges. For instance, when COVID first started, it created for me the first time in my life some anxiety. And so I went to a professional to help me with that. And I'm glad I did. And I was pretty open about that. But if I had a long term condition that was not event driven, where it would be normal to, in my case, it would be normal to have anxiety. Now, my level of anxiety was above that. And I like being open with that because I think there's a stigma with mental health. And that's why I said this one, I've got some trepidation on saying don't share. But if you had a serious mental health issue, that can keep you from getting a job. The company may look for other reasons to get rid of you. Unfortunately, particularly here in the United States, it's tough, right? Better, faster, cheaper. And if people think that you have a mental health condition, that could work against you. And I don't want to see that work against you. Now, I said that there was going to be a bonus. And the bonus is, never share passwords with people.
Well, no shit, Azul. Come on. You teased it, and it's never share passwords. I think my 6-year-old at the time, when he learned whatever password that he needed to learn, was like, okay, I'm never going to share passwords. What a dumb. Sorry, that was unnecessary. Just saying.
Yeah, this is not representative of his typical videos, honestly. I'm not sure why he's getting millions of views.
Albertone says all this to plug a VPN. Now, if you have shared your password, you can protect yourself by using NordVPN. New password, Outlier.
your spouse, maybe an adult child, but there are password managers, and this is really something a journey that I've been on over the last 2 years is to get much better about my passwords. And I now use commercially available password software, and I really like it. And if I need to share a password with somebody, I can use this software, and they have to have an account with that same company. But the password manager can actually share that password without.
Okay. I think Brandon actually has a good point here. Maybe that is the audience he's talking to. Okay, I feel like maybe maybe he's right on that one.
Without that person knowing it. Particularly if you're reusing passwords. You give them a password for something else, but if that's the same as for your financial accounts or your email, your email is kind of the keys to the kingdom. So be really careful. So those are the 5 things never to disclose plus 1 bonus. If you enjoyed this video, I think the next video you'll enjoy.
There you go. If you want to sign up for his newsletter, go for it. Joe, I don't know why that video is blowing up so hard right now, but maybe we can ride the algorithm coattails and let it work for us. But in the meantime, I feel like I should introduce everybody to something very important, very special, very near dear to my heart. That's clicking the right damn button because I'm a professional YouTuber. Welcome to the Outlier Trading Room. This is where we help you save time, make money, and start winning with less risk. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We have 4 year-round plans that we like to trade with: Plan M, A, ETF, and Sit in Cash. And if you want normal returns, this is not for you. But if you want outlier returns, you're in the right place. So these 2 are our most aggressive plans, and we'll take a look and see if they're setting up today. And then there's Plan ETF and Plan Sit in Cash and Don't F Up your portfolio. And we're in Plan Sit in Cash and Don't F Up right now because of what's been going on in the market. So let's take a look at all these real quick, right? Let's see. We need to start with what the market is telling us. We do it with a few key concepts here. First, the SPY having a bullish trend. Is the SPY still having a bullish trend, Joe?
Yes, I believe it is still having a bullish trend. Yeah, it's
Is it?
much below the 10 is much below the 20, and also today's price remains below the 50.
You said you believe the SPY is still in a bullish trend. I
Oh,
disagree with you.
I meant bearish. Forgive me.
There you go. I would say it's actually in a bearish trend.
It
So
is
what
bearish.
Joe's referring to here, even though Joe is drunk, it is the 10-period EMA, the 20-period EMA, and the 50-period EMA. When the 10 is over the 20 and price is over the 50, that is a bullish trend. Ignore the box. Let me remove that. When that is happening, it can run like gangbusters. It can. It doesn't mean it always will, but it can. We do not have that today. In fact, we have the opposite. We have the 10 under the 20, price under the 50. So we have a bearish trend right now. And bearish trends are going to last as long as they take, right? That doesn't mean it's going to be a stock market crash, even though people love to put that out there. A bearish trend means a stock market crash. Not necessarily. It could just be a few days of pullback and then it comes right back up. All you have to do is pay attention. All you have to do is pay attention. So we're not going to be trading Plan M or A specifically because we don't even have a bullish trend to trade. Next, when we go into Outlier, you can see the sell signal right here on the market for SPY, sell signal on the NASDAQ, and sell signal on the Dow Jones. Another reason why I'm not getting long into the market at all. How about the fear and greed heat map? Well, let's go into the SPY. Let's see. Well, this isn't off to a great start. Pretty much have 0 of 9. You do have 1 outlier block, and that's because inside of the Outlier platform, it doesn't see any outlier blocks within 2% above. So you really could look at it like potentially 0 of 9, which is a very bearish setup here. But the SPY, finally, we're seeing some real movement under the 70 score of the fear and greed, and it's moving down pretty quick. Now it's down at 60.82. So was it 70.65 not all that long ago and is selling off hard and fast. What does that mean? People are getting more fearful in the market. People are not getting more greedy. Now, what we want to see is a market that's trending up higher, is a market where people are getting more and more greedy, and then that makes trading effortless. And we don't have that. And we don't have that at all. In fact, I don't think we have any of these four, because if we go to the full stocks breadth, let's take a look at the breadth over here. I believe all the full stocks breadth is bearish as well. Let me double check that. Yes, we have a bearish cross down on full stocks breadth. So what this is measuring is the percent of stocks that are on the buy signals, the buy list right here, the bull list. It's only 24 new today, 96 new sell signals today. So 595 total buy signals versus 1,739 total sell signals. That is what this represents right here. And you can see we're also getting less and less uptrends, more and more downtrends. So Joe, is there any reason to try and get long this market right now?
No, and as a matter of fact, I like to point out we had a little bit of a crystal ball effect using Outlier. We got the signal that we were going to trend down the day before the 10 crossed the 20.
You mean on Friday, November 14th, when everybody was crying that we got a sell signal right after a buy signal?
Absolutely. And
And there it goes.
just like we talked about in the live, we should all be appreciative of that sell signal because it came again right before the 10 crossed onto the 20.
That's right. Right before the trend started to cross down. Now, Outlier cannot give 100% win rates, unfortunately. But what it can do is get you out of the way when things aren't working and get you into a stock when things are working. And I just really want to point out, right? Even though we got in on Wednesday and got out on Friday, to me, that is a best case scenario. You don't want to let this go on for ages. You don't want to find out days, weeks, months later that it's not going to work. If I get into a trade and 2 days later I have a sell signal, that is the best sell signal I could possibly ask for, because then I can move on to my next plan and I don't have to wait. So Joe, I don't see any reason to get long this market whatsoever. So the only thing that we can do is at your opening. Only thing that we can do is
Sit in cash and don't F up our portfolios.
Joe, what does that mean? Like, I know we say it, and I know we joke about it, and I know we have that sign. I have this other sign over here that I need to from Uncle Blue Co. that is also in the chat today. This lights up as well. It changes colors. It's pretty sick.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So what does that mean to you, Joe, when it says sit in cash and don't F up? What does that mean to you?
It means the market is not going the direction that I want it to go, which is up, because I'm not typically a short seller. I don't buy puts, I don't sell options, right? So I want to take my risk off the table. Why would I have my money in a market that's not going the direction that I want it to go, right? So put it in cash. Well, the savings account doesn't pay nearly anything, right? Like a percent or a fraction of a percent. So it's not going to do you any good to put it in a savings account. So you can put it into a lower risk asset like SGov, which is a treasury bill, right? So you may earn 4% a year. So, daily, that's not a great return, but it's also not a loss. And
Right.
you can look every day, SGov just goes up and up and up slowly, but it goes up, right?
Right. Now, it is really the best of both worlds to have ESCA, because we're getting basically paid daily interest with no market risk associated with it, because it's short-term, ultra short-term, which is 0 to 3 months, treasury bonds. That's it. We're just buying the bond market and letting it pay us daily interest. And in the process, we aren't trying to fight a market that cannot figure out if it's going to go down or go up. But more signs are pointing to down than up. Say thank you to Outlier. Say thank you. I need to learn how to read, Joe. Say thank you, Outlier, for getting me out of the trade. There you go. Exactly. Sit in cash and don't F up. Sit in cash and don't F up means it's time to go touch some grass. Sit in cash and don't F up is a great way to keep your gains. That's the point, right? Nobody wants to get into trades, have big, beautiful winning trades, and then give it all back because the market starts to go down. No, you can sidestep that. Use the trend template, use the sell signals. It's only 82 cents a day. And then you can see, oh, maybe I should get into SGov. Joe, I'm going to make way more in SGov this year than the cost of Outlier. I'm just saying, even that alone can pay for years and years and years of Outlier, right? So I'm just saying, Outlier is pretty handy, but I'm biased. I'm biased AF.
Yeah, and you don't literally have to sit on your hands. You just want to get your risk off the table, right? So, what would you do if you were in cash? You could backtest your plan. You could see what were my emotional states when I put on all my trades, right? And did those emotional states affect the trade, or was I literally following the step of my plan, for instance? So, you a lot of people have difficulty doing nothing, right? Well, backtesting is a lot. It is something great, something to help you prove out your plan. So, make a little interest, make your plan better, and wait for the trend to go back in the direction you want it to go.
You know, I wish that I had learned about SCOV sooner, but Cameron has a great question. Cameron, thank you so much for the question. What do you think about something like a money market, like SPACs? Uh, I don't know if that's a racial slur. I hope that's not, because I feel really bad right now if I just said SPACs and that comes out as like a bad word. SPAX. I feel like it is, Joe. Is it a bad word, Joe? I don't want to say it.
I don't know.
I don't know if it is. Um, so someone's going to click down the internet. And label me all kinds of things. But here we go. What do you think about something like a money market fund like SPACs versus SGov? Uh, the way that I would put this is like there are some brokers, and maybe that's what your broker offers, where it's uninvested cash that's put into a interest bearing account. That would be sick, right? That takes the guesswork out of it, right? If your broker will automatically do that for you. I think Robinhood Gold does that. I don't know. I don't use shitty platforms like Robinhood Gold, but you do you.
Vanguard does it too.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I have no problem with Vanguard. I have lots of problems with Robinhood, but I have no problem with Vanguard. Um, my problems with Robinhood stem from the fact that while they did commoditize trading, why they did make it accessible to everybody, I feel like they did it in a predatory sort of way where it's less about risk and more about the excitement of trading. I don't want that for anybody. I need you to understand that all stocks are bad, but every once in a while they act right. And if you are in a interest bearing account, wherever you can get it from, that's great, and less work, right? Less work. You don't have to buy and sell into SGov and out of it. But Carol did have an answer for Cameron, which is Fidelity SPACs is 3.7, slightly lower to SGov. SGov is paying around 4.3. But that is what I'm in. Takes a day to get out of SGov for me and her Fidelity. Ooh, okay, that's good to know. That's a great point right there. For me and my broker, I can get in and out of SGov, no thing. But for you, if it is a thing, definitely something to pay attention to. Carol, thank you so much for sharing that. Carol is part of Joe, I'm totally doing it. Carol's part of Outlier University. You do it, Joe. You do it.
What's Outlier University, Chris?
Are you ready? Let's go!
Respect is earned. Respect is never given.
Well, thanks for asking, Joe. And then that 18-second that bumper right there. So Outlier University is our way of giving back to you. We want you to be as successful as possible in the markets. And so we have developed a curriculum called Outlier University. Joe was one of the first graduates in the Alpha class. And we want you to be successful. At the end of the day, you can use Outlier, you can use any other platform. It doesn't matter. I'm going to give you literally everything that I've learned in 16 years of trading. And it's up to you to decide how you're going to use it. I forgot, I hadn't said this in a minute, Joe. 50% of you are going to listen and it's going to go through one ear and out the other. 25% of you are going to listen half-heartedly, and then you're going to implement, you're going to make mistakes, and then you're going to say, it's all Chris's fault. He made me sell my SoFi shares. But the other 25% of you are going to listen, you're going to pay attention, and you're going to create generational wealth in the process. Now you get to decide, like Joe did, which one of those groups you are in. Joe, you tell me, which group were you in?
I'm in the successful, profitable trader group who happened to get the luxury of being in university, which, by the way, was absolutely free. And that's the same price you will pay by watching these videos on YouTube. And if you're a subscriber, you can watch them live every Tuesday and every Thursday. Again, at no cost.
Free 99. That's the best price. Now, people will charge $12,000+ a quarter for half of what we give away for free on YouTube. And like I say, the reason we do this is because we want you to be successful. When you are successful, you will have enough money to pay the 82 cents a day to join us over here at Outlier. So listen, thank you so much for coming. That was a decent video, but again, it's really geared more towards the older audience, which I didn't really make that connection until Brandon was like, okay, boomer. Okay, wait a minute. Actually, he is talking to boomers. So there's definitely quite a lot that we can learn together from videos like that. And so if somebody were looking to save time, make money, start winning with less risk, what do you think they should do, Joe?
They should become an Outlier subscriber. And then they could learn more about Outlier by clicking on one of these videos right here.
One of those videos that's covering up our beautiful faces right now? That sounds great. Thanks so much for coming, and we will definitely talk soon.